Iraq has said it is ready to mediate between the US and Iran if it is asked to do so. The statement came shortly after Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif arrived in Baghdad on a two-day visit. Zarif met President Barham Saleh and held talks with his Iraqi counterpart Mohammad al-Hakim. Prime Minister Adil Abdul Mahdi also hosted Zarif. The leader spoke of ways to avoid the harms of sanctions and the dangers of war in the Middle East. They also discussed how to save the nuclear deal reached in 2015 between Iran and the world powers. Zarif's visit comes after US President Donald Trump announced the deployment of 1,500 additional troops to the Middle East. Earlier, Baghdad said it will send delegations to the US and Iran to help ease tensions between the two countries. Prime Minister Abdul Mahdi said Baghdad is neutral in the conflict. Moving on, heavy fighting is once again raging in Libya after Eastern forces made a new push to advance inside Tripoli. This comes a day after Khalifa Haftar's forces fired rockets at a Tripoli hotel where the government officials were holding a meeting. In the latest push, Haftar's Libyan National Army tried to advance on a road from the former airport. The LNA has not been able to breach the capital's defenses even after 2 months of fierce fighting. According to the UN, the battle has so far claimed 500 lives and displaced 75,000 people. Meanwhile, in Britain, at least a dozen candidates have entered the race for the Conservative leadership. Brexit is set to dominate the contest to succeed Theresa May at number 10. All those standing say they could build a consensus or amend May's deal. Former Foreign Minister Boris Johnson and current Foreign Minister Jeremy Hunt are among those vying for the PM slot. Health Minister Matt Hancock and former Brexit Minister Dominic Raab have also joined the field to replace May. Some 160,000 Conservative Party members will choose the winner from the two final candidates. Theresa May will resign as party leader on June the 7th, but will continue as the Prime Minister until new leader is elected. The contest will begin in week commencing on June the 10th, and the new leader will be chosen by the end of July. Meanwhile, France, Germany and Italy are voting on the fourth and the final day of the European Union parliamentary elections. Most of the bloc's 28 member states, including Spain, Luxembourg, Austria and Belgium, are set to vote today. More than 400 million voters will elect 751 members of the European Parliament in 4 days of voting. Economic concerns are down to 19%, while climate change concerns are up to 18%. The first official results will be announced late Sunday. Exit polls have shown an increased voter turnout because of the Brexit debacle. In another development, Venezuela's government and opposition will meet again in Oslo to solve the country's political crisis. In a statement, Norway's foreign ministry said the negotiations will be held next week. It said Oslo is committed to finding a mutually agreed solution to the crisis in Venezuela. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro thanked Oslo for its efforts in making the negotiations possible. Maduro said his delegation will take part in dialogue to reach an agreement with the opposition. But opposition leader Juan Guaido said nothing short of Maduro's removal will satisfy him. Venezuela has been hit by a wave of malaria cases, but the country's health system is crumbling because of the shortage in funding. More details in this report.
The first country to eradicate malaria in 1961, Venezuela is now seeing an alarming growth in the disease. In the southeastern state of Bolivar, gold mine tunnels are a perfect breeding ground for infected mosquitoes.
In the mines, in the soil, the yellow mud or puddles, or when it always rains in the mines, there are mosquitoes. Of course, you use repellents, you sleep in mosquito nets, but there are still many mosquitoes, and I think I got infected with a mosquito bite, and not just me, but also many people.
A type of malaria-carrying mosquito is particularly active in the gold mines of Bolivar.
In other words, the miner is digging his own grave because he is creating a mosquito breeding site, and of course, it is a full cocktail for the mosquito.
The Center for Malaria Studies in Caracas has been treating between 20 to 30 malaria patients a day from all over the country. According to the World Health Organization, Venezuela registered more than 400,000 malaria cases in 2017 alone.
It's a shame, as Dr. Gabaldon said, that Venezuela is now at the end of the line, and that's why the WHO has designated it one of the 4 countries with the greatest deterioration in relation to the transmission of malaria, and not just for malaria.
Venezuela is blighted by a worsening economic crisis with basic necessities like food and medicine in short supply. The clinic that treated 3,500 patients in 2018 alone is in a sorry state and surviving on donations.
At least 25 soldiers and a number of civilians have been killed in a Boko Haram attack in northeast Nigeria. Militants opened fire on soldiers when they were escorting civilians fleeing from a village in Borno State. Boko Haram and other militia have been fighting for a decade in the region. The Nigerian government says the militant insurgency is on its last legs. The war has already killed more than 30,000 people and displaced millions more. In Japan, US President Donald Trump has urged Japanese business leaders to increase their investment in the United States. US President Donald Trump has arrived in Tokyo on a 4-day visit to the country. Addressing the business leaders, Trump said he is working to instill fairness and reciprocity in US-Japan trade relations. The US president said he hopes to address the trade imbalance and remove barriers to the US exports. Meanwhile, Japan's economy minister said that Japan and the US need to narrow their differences on trade. Trump will be the first foreign leader to meet Japan's new emperor Naruhito. During his visit, he will watch sumo wrestling and play golf with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. An international maritime tribunal has ordered Russia to release 24 Ukrainian sailors detained last November of the Crimea Peninsula. The tribunal also called for the release of the seized Ukrainian Navy vessels. Ukraine took the matter to the tribunal last month, but Russia did not recognize its jurisdiction and skipped the proceedings. Russia has accused the sailors of violating its maritime borders. In a 19-1 verdict, the bench urged both the nations to refrain from taking any action which might aggravate the dispute. Ukraine hailed the decision and demanded that Moscow swiftly comply with the ruling. In South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa has been sworn in as president at a ceremony in capital Pretoria. The 66-year-old leader was unanimously elected by Parliament after his African National Congress won the elections on May the 8th. Details follow.
Let us welcome.
Some 30,000 people showed their approval with deafening cheers as Cyril Ramaphosa took oath as South Africa's president. Addressing supporters in a stadium, the president said the challenges the country faces are huge and real. He said South Africans are hoping for a better tomorrow. President Cyril Ramaphosa promised a new era in which officials will improve the lives of South Africans. He said that adversities of the past will no longer take toll on the people. Cyril Ramaphosa became South Africa's president after embattled leader Jacob Zuma resigned. The new president faces a delicate fight against government corruption. Welcome back. The temperature in parts of India has soared to over 45.3 degrees Celsius. Climate scientists say that the number of heatwave days in the country has increased over the past 15 years. Here are the details.
India is well known for its unforgiving summers. Summer temperatures regularly push past 40 degrees Celsius. Now global warming is raising temperatures even higher. In Adilabad, Telangana, the mercury has touched 43.5 degrees.
Maximum temperatures recorded yesterday in Telangana, highest is the 45.3 degrees Celsius at Adilabad. And Ramagundam reported 43.8 degrees Celsius. Nizamabad reported 43.9 degrees Celsius.
Climate scientists have warned that heat waves have started to become longer in the country. Telangana has also been forced to extend school holidays. Conversely, for juice and coconut water vendors, heat waves are an opportunity for business. Hyderabad's government fever hospital said it has dealt with 8 to 10 heat stroke cases per day. High temperatures are expected to persist for the next 4 days.
Malawi's High Court has ordered the Election Commission to recount the votes from this week's elections after complaints of rigging. The electoral body has suspended updating the tallies to resolve the matter.
The vote count from 3/4 of the country's polling stations showed President Peter Mutharika leading with 40.9%. His closest challenger, Lazarus Chakwera of the Malawi Congress Party, had 35.44% votes.
So we went to court seeking their intervention because, the court is independent in this matter. They listened to us and they agreed with us, and therefore they have ordered the Malawi Electoral Commission to do a recount.
The Electoral Commission said it had received 147 complaints. The most prominent allegation was that figures on result sheets had been altered by correction fluid.
The complaints that have come, without resolving them, we cannot announce the results.
The European Union Observer Mission described the vote as well-managed, inclusive, transparent and competitive. But it said that tension during the campaign was followed by claims of rigging.
Lows and the highs of the business world now. London's FTSE Russell has announced that it will add Chinese shares to its widely tracked global benchmarks next month. In the first stage, 20% of A shares will be brought into the indexes. The move is expected to draw about $10 billion from passive investors. The FTSE will add 40% of A shares to its indexes in September. Another 40% will be incorporated in March next year. The addition will be officially effective after the close of stock markets on June the 24th. A look into the world of sports now, starting with the NBA. The Toronto Raptors have rallied past the Milwaukee Bucks to advance to the championship finals. Kawhi Leonard scored 27 points, grabbed 17 rebounds and added 7 assists as the Raptors won by 100-94. The side has reached the NBA Finals for the first time in the history of the franchise. In a major upset, Valencia has beaten Barcelona by 2-1 to win the Copa del Rey, ending the Spanish champions' 4-year winning streak. Barcelona were favourites going into the final at Seville's sweltering Benito Villamarin Stadium. Kevin Gameiro and Rodrigo Moreno struck his first half goals to give Barcelona-dominant Valencia control of the game. Record 30 times Cup winner Barcelona struggled without injured duo Luis Suarez and Ousmane Dembele. But Lionel Messi pulled the Catalans back into the game with a finish from close range. Fans celebrated as Valencia held on to lead to win their first major trophy since last lifting the cup in 2008. Ecuador's Richard Carapaz has finished ahead of Simon Yates to win the 14th stage of Giro d'Italia. Richard Carapaz rode into leader's pink jersey at the Giro d'Italia after winning the 14th stage. The movie star rider won his second stage of this year's race. Britain's Philip Yates finished 1 minute and 32 seconds behind Carapaz in the stage, which featured 5 climbs and a second successive uphill finish. Two-time Giro winner Vincenzo Nibali crossed third in Corimar to move from 5th to 3rd in the overall standings. Carapaz now leads Roglic by 7 seconds, with Nibali sitting on the 3rd spot, only 1 minute and 47 seconds behind. The Giro will continue on Sunday with 232-kilometer run from Ivrea to Como and will conclude in Verona on June the 2nd.
Still wearing the leader's pink jersey for Team UAE.
News from Formula One. An emotional Lewis Hamilton has beaten teammate Valtteri Bottas to pole position as Ferrari struggle in qualifying. The story of the day was in many ways Ferrari's strategic error that saw Charles Leclerc knocked out in the first session. Ferrari elected not to send Leclerc out for a second run, and the Monegasque will start 15th for his home race. Mercedes' Valtteri Bottas qualified second, and Bull's Max Verstappen will line up 4th ahead of Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel. Celtic has won the historic treble by defeating the Hearts in the finals of the Scottish Cup. Celtic came from the goal behind to clinch their 3rd Scottish Cup in a row. It is an historic treble for Neil Lennon's side. French international Odsonne Edouard scored a brace to help Celtic get past Hearts at Hampden Park. And now the weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. Don't forget, you can visit our website for the details on all of our main stories. You'll find them at indus.news, and you can follow us on social media as well.